Hi everyone, welcome to On the Other Hand. I'm Ariane Zurcher, and today I'm going to be demonstrating the Dorset button. There are a whole lot of different ways of doing this Dorset button as far as how you start or and I'm going to show you what I do, but if you feel like, I don't know, go ahead and look at some of the other videos that are out there. There are a lot of them. I also am going to show you the Dorset button done in a couple of different threads, and then a couple that have a little twist to them, a little variation, because I'm all about the variation on the traditional. So I'm really looking forward to this demo because the Dorset button's a lot of fun and it can be applied to all kinds of different things. Don't forget to hit that like button, click on the subscribe button, and the little bell that pops up, click on that for email notifications if you click all. Talk to me. I love hearing from you in the comments section, and check out the description section because that's where I'll leave links for all the different things that I use to make a Dorset button, including the little plastic rings as well as the different threads that I've used for this video. So if you already have a little plastic ring or a little metal ring, it really doesn't matter what the ring is made of. It just has to be a ring of some kind. Grab some thread and your ring and a needle, and let's stitch a Dorset button together. This Dorset button I did in silk and pearl. I then went ahead and after I did my woven circle, I did on the outside a 3-wrap French knot. I left the back so that I can attach it. Now some people don't like this. They want to weave this last thread in and then they want to take the thread that they're going to attach and do that. You can do that too. I figure it's more versatile if I just leave it. Then I have the option to thread it and attach it to whatever I want with this thread. And if I don't want to use this thread, I can always deal with that later. This one I used this thread. It's a South African front company called Chameleon. This is a pearl number 8, and that's this. It's pretty, isn't it? I got this because a couple of people who follow me are from New Zealand, and there's a wonderful thread shop in New Zealand. It's called Ribbon Works, I believe. Anyway, I bought some just to test out. And then the next one I'm going to do is this one, which is a Steph Francis silk. It's a spun silk. Isn't that pretty? And I thought I would do a little one with that. I'm also going to show you one done in an Aurora because it's got pile to it, and I thought that might be fun. And if we have time, I might do one in Oriental linen. Of course, Sue Spargo's variegated eleganza is a total go-to for these because her variegations are so beautiful and they just work really, really well for any Dorset button. So any of her eleganzas in either a 5-weight, you could even do a 3-weight or an 8-weight. They're all going to be good. All right, let's get started. So I've got a 24 chenille tapestry needle, and I'm going to do this little guy with this silk because the silk is so thin. One of the things that I need to do is I want to make sure I have enough of a length. So I'm going to do about 1.5 meters to 2 meters, which is about 5 feet or 2 yards. That's fine. You just want to make sure you have enough to do your whole wrapping. If you do run out, you can attach a new thread, but you don't want to attach a new thread while you're going around. The way you're going to start is you're going to have this thread end. It's a tail. You're going to let it go this way and you're going to wrap around it so it's enclosed. This is what I do. This is not what everyone else does, but this is what I do. I bring my thread in and I make a little loop here like that. I'm going to hold that tail down and I'm going to go clockwise. If you're right-handed, you might feel more comfortable going counterclockwise. I'm going to take my needle, I'm going to go through the ring, and I'm going to do basically a blanket stitch. And I'm going to catch this end, which I'm holding with my finger, my thumb and index finger, in this blanket stitch. And I'm going to keep going around. It's a little bit, it can feel a little clumsy because you're having to hold this tiny ring, you're having to hold the little thread down, you're having to make sure that this thread goes around. But after a while, you get kind of used to it. I'm pulling quite tight. Now, obviously, if you have a thicker thread, it's going to go a lot faster. I chose a really thin thread. At a certain point, you can clip this end off. It just needs to be buried under there enough to catch it so that it won't come pulling out. So I just keep going here, around and around, where I pull my needle through the thread, and I'm covering this entire circle. As I said, if you want this to go quicker, you use a thicker thread. I would definitely not advise using anything thinner than what I'm already using. Now, you also want to push this and make sure that it's really, really dense. Okay, and now I take my needle and I can put it through to make this circle without end. I'm now going to take my edge here and I'm going to push it into the center. You can leave it. I've seen Dorset buttons with the edge left, but a typical Dorset button, a traditional Dorset button, you push that edge into the center. So there it is. So I'm going to take my thread and I'm going to come around the front from 12 to 6. And now I'm going to wrap it over to somewhere between the 1 and 2 o'clock position. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to wrap it so that I have 10 spokes. Now I'm going to hold that in the back. I want to come with my needle up through 2 of these spokes. I'm going to pull that and I'm going to come back down in the opposite spoke, and then I'm going to come back up and I'm going to pull this through and I'm going to go down in the opposite spoke so that I get a little cross. I also am centering these. There's my back, here's my front, and now I'm going to do what will be basically a whipped woven. I'm going to come up here, I'm going to come up to the next one going counterclockwise, and I'm going to go down into this one. Come up. All right, so there it is. And now, and that's the back. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to weave my needle in through some of these back stitches just to secure it. And then if I wanted and I had a longer length, I would come up right into the middle and I could leave my tail. I'm going to leave it anyway. It's not long enough to really do much, but there it is. So that's where on this one, I then went in with the same color, and you could do a different color thread and you could put little French knots, but there's my little Dorset button in the spun silk from Steph Francis. I think I'll do the number 5 weight eleganza just so you can see that. So I want my little end here. I'm going to hold it here. I'm going to take my loop. So I'm doing a blanket stitch here. It gets a little cumbersome with this long thread, but it is necessary because you have to have that long thread in order to make sure that you have enough to go all the way around. You know you're doing this right if what you're getting is a ridge right at the edge here. So I go under my metal, my plastic or metal or whatever, my ring. I'm going to loop my thread around like that to pull it through so that I get that ridge. So that's it. Now what I do is I come up into this next, the ridge, the stitch, and I just do that. I'm now going to push this ridge down so that the whole thing goes into the back inner part of the wheel. Now this can be a little tricky, especially since I've done it really tightly, but you need it to be tight so that you don't have gaps. So you just have to methodically go with your finger. If you have a fingernail, that helps. And you just push that ridge into the inside. And there it is, like that. Now I'm going to take this thread and I'm going to go up and then down. So from the 12 o'clock position to the 6 o'clock position. I'm going to wrap it and I'm going to go down to about the 1 o'clock position. I can do 10 spokes, I can do 12 spokes, however many spokes I want, I can do that. So it's going to look something like that. And you'll see on the back, it's even more of a mess. That's okay though. I'm now going to take my needle and I'm going to come out the other side, the opposite of the other side. And I'm going to pull this so that it's as close to center as I can get it. And now I'm going to go a couple over and I'm going to make a little X here. And again, the point here is to get these spokes so that they are center, or as close to center as I can manipulate them. And I think that of all the things that are tricky about this, this is the trickiest thing, is getting those spokes so that they're kind of even. Now I'm going to come up and I'm going to do my whipped woven. One of the things I wanted to mention is I don't have a lot of thread here, but I'm just going to do what I would a whipped woven. The only difference is that I have to go up and down. I can't thread across because of this ring. Okay, so this is getting difficult for me to weave. I'm going to push my needle through a bunch of these threads. I'm going to pull it through, and then I'm going to go through a bunch more, and one more time, and I'm going to cut my thread, and I'm going to start anew. Okay, so I have my new thread here. And I'm going to do the same. I'm going to push it through a bunch of these threads here. Now I made a little knot, and I'm going to clip this. And I'm going to go through a bunch of these again, and I'm going to try to find where I left off. At any point, I can stop. If I want to have a lot of air, I could leave it like this. If I want to fill the whole thing up, I can do that. So there it is, filled in completely. Here's the back. And I'm going to go ahead and, again, I'm going to just scoot my needle underneath some of these stitches. And then I'm going to leave this long hanging bit, and I'm just going to leave that alone so that I can attach it if I want to. And this is with the number 5 weight eleganza. So I'm using Monster Mash, and I'm going to start by holding my end here. I'm going to come up, and I want to make sure that I have that ridge and that I'm catching that end. So this is what it looks like. Let's see if I can do this. So I push my needle up like this, and I wrap it around that thread so that it loops. Again, wrap it here, and then wrap it around the thread. So that I am sure to get that loop, that little ridge at the top. Ring, and then wrap my thread around. It's a blanket stitch, but with a long piece of thread. And I think that's the only reason why it looks any different. It's because my thread is so long. just going to get my needle through here just so that these are attached. And now I'm going to push this ridge inside my ring completely in. So it looks like that. Now I take my thread and I'm going to wrap it from the 12 o'clock to the 6 o'clock position, and then to the 1 o'clock and 7 o'clock, 2 o'clock and 8 o'clock, 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock, and there we have it. I'm going to come up through the back my little X here, pulling these threads together. Making sure that when I look at the back, it's caught as much as it can be. And then just tweaking this a little bit, I can push it down a little to make sure it's center, or as close as I can get. And now I'm going to start with my whipped woven. So here's the back, which actually looks pretty cool. And here's the front. I have just enough thread to weave this in and end it, but not enough to actually do anything else with it. So I'm just going to pull this through. And leave it one more time, and that's going to be it. Clip that end. There's my little button in Aurora, which I have to tell you, I had a feeling it was going to look cool. I didn't think it was going to look this cool. I love this. And this is using this crazy monster mash, which is a really weird color combo, but I like it. So there's that. All right, so here's my Oriental linen. I've gone around, I've pushed my ridges in, and I'm ready now to wrap. And this, I think, is the hardest part, really. Getting this so that that center is kind of equal, or as close to equal as you can get. So there it is. And I'm gonna come up. And I can tweak it, I can push it a little, and then I'm going to start my weaving. This time I left myself lots of thread. So now I'm going to change into my bouillon knot needle, and I'm going to do a little bouillon knot between two of these spokes. Okay, it's an 8-wrap bouillon knot going over the span of 2 spokes. So let's see if I can do it again. Definitely need my pliers for this. Then I pull that through, and I'm going to anchor it. Go. And of course, this could also be done in a different color and a different thread. And then the last one, come up where I started. So there's my whipped woven, and then I've done little bouillon knots. I could do a little drizzle stitch if I wanted. I could do a French knot. Put a 3-wrap French knot right in the center. There's a little variation. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you found it helpful, and maybe it made you think about the Dorset button a little bit differently. Or if you haven't done the Dorset button at all, maybe it'll just encourage you to try it and see what you think. This is my 5-weight variegated eleganza. This is my silken pearl, which is between a 5 and an 8 weight. This is my number 8 weight pearl cotton from Chameleon Threads, which is in South Africa. This is a Steph Francis raw silk, spun silk. It's a number 8 weight, although I think parts of it are a little bit thinner actually. This is my Monster Mash Aurora, and this is the Oriental linen. Don't forget to hit that like button, click on the subscribe button, and the little bell that pops up for email notifications. You can click on that. Tell me what you think. Leave comments in the comment section, and I'll leave links for all these threads down below. Until next time, here's to exploring and stitching together.